Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Village of Gurnee Planning and Zoning Board for this Wednesday, December 19, 2018. Can we have a roll call, please?
Bow.
Here.
Garrity.
Here.
McFarland.
Here.
Nordentoff.
Here.
Path.
Here.
Paysack.
Here.
And Sula.
Present. We have 100% attendance. Great. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing on behalf of Brian and Jean Batts for property located at 2195 Spruce Point Drive. Clara, can we have a staff report, please?
Yep. Brian and Jean Batts are seeking a variance to allow a shed to be located less than 5 feet from the principal structure and to encroach into the required interior side setback. The shed is located approximately 8.5 inches from the house and is approximately 8 to 12 inches from the side lot line. The subject property is zoned R3, Single Family Residential District, and is located at 2195 Spruce Point Drive. As with all variance petitions, the Planning and Zoning Board will make a recommendation that will be forwarded to the Village Board for their determination. The petitioner is in attendance to present his request and answer any questions the board may have.
Okay, thank you. As this particular matter is a public hearing, I would request the petitioners to please stand and be sworn in by the village attorney.
If you could stand and raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay, you may be seated.
First of all, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Is there anything that you'd like to add to what Clara just presented? Excuse me, sir, we need to use the microphone. We can hear you just fine, but the cameras can't.
Sure. So,
I think I turned it on.
is it? Can you hear me okay? Okay, so we'd like to, as she mentioned, have a shed located on the side of our house. It's already in existence. It's been there for 6 years approximately. I use it for my business. I store parts inside of there. I'm a locksmith 24-hour a day, and I've got stuff that people call in the middle of the night, and they can text me over a picture and say, hey, this is broken on my house, and that's where I store the parts. So basically, I've got need for having this shed located on the property so I can get 24-hour access to get my parts out and have them secured. I don't have enough storage inside of my house unless I put all the cars out on the driveway and then I could have my garage be my storage, but it's not very feasible. Be shuffling cars all day long just to make that happen. Unfortunately, because of the big slope on the side of my house, it's not feasible to locate this in the backyard. I did have a shed in the backyard, and we just store lawnmower, snow blower, that kind of stuff, seasonal items, bicycles and things like that back there. But due to the nature of my business, I need to be able to gain access to these things. And in the wintertime or when it's raining out, it's like a slip and slide down the side of the house, and it is quite a distance back. So to gain access to that in the wintertime, which I've had to do in years past, it's really not feasible to trudge through 4 feet of snow when it all piles up back there. So that's the reasoning why we've got it located where it is, and unfortunately I don't have another location to put one.
Okay, thank you. You can hang on to that because we may need it. Any questions from members of the Planning and Zoning Board? Yes, Tim.
Trying to understand the hardship. Is there a particular reason? I know in my work experience, I work with independent business owners similar to your situation, petitioner situation, where they're utilizing a self-storage unit or warehouse location.
I do have 2 self-storage already, 2 basically 4-car garages full of business equipment as well. This is the stuff I need ready access to all the time. So when somebody's locked out of their house or there's a problem, they expect you there within a half hour to get the job done. So if I have to travel to my location, which I do have, that could easily add a half hour to 45 minutes to the job between getting there, getting into it, finding the parts, which does not have power, that I can't see it. I'm walking around with a flashlight trying to find stuff. It's not feasible to do emergency work and go get parts at the same time. Yes. Keys, locks, cameras, parts that I use every day for my business. Some things are small. Nothing is, larger than that usually, but there's lots of them and lots of variants. So there's electronic components inside of there, and the self-storage that I have is also not a temperature-controlled thing, so not that I'm so temperature-controlled here, but as opposed to opening up a complete, garage door at the other location that's not very secure, somebody can just go cut off the padlock and gain access to those items. So I keep less valuable items inside of there. But all the electronic components and things like that that I need. We do access control like you guys have here, where you hold up a card and electronically unlock a door. We do that type of thing, so I've got parts for those type of devices inside of there, replacement cameras, key blanks, things of that sort.
So where I was going is, there's nothing in there that you can't carry yourself. You just pick it up at
One-man pick up and carry?
10 pounds.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So why didn't you put the shed back up against the bump out on your house, either in front of it? That would eliminate this problem.
Which direction are we talking about?
Just shift it back against, you got a bump out on your house. I don't know if it's a fireplace or whatever, but I was at your house, you got a bump out on the back of your house, little bump out.
Right.
And it's utilities, or I don't know what it is.
If you notice the slope going down the back of the house, it's drastic. It goes from the front of my shed to the back of my shed, it's almost head height.
But if,
That's how drastic the slope is. So in the wintertime, when you get snow, that area, all the snow is up at that height. Trudging through that snow to get this stuff, it's not really, because I did that. The first many years that I lived in the house, that was the method that we tried to do. It's not feasible. You almost kill yourself just going down that slope.
I'm not suggesting the back shed, but if this had been shifted back 10 feet, you could put in a gravel path, and they have these machines called snow blowers that you could clear that out, but
But you still
nevertheless,
keep the slope.
did you know it was in the easement when you put it up?
Pardon?
Did you know it was in the easement when you put it up?
The easement on the side of the house we're talking about
Yes.
here?
Yeah.
Yes and no. I of course had a plot of survey. The easement in the back, when we put the shed in the back, it was pretty much the same situation where,
You put it up against it, but you did it right back there. The other,
Yeah.
the old shed is positioned just fine. It's up to the easement, but it's not into it.
right, well, due to the lack of space where
Right.
this one is located, that's why it's
Okay.
encroaching on that easement.
Okay, that's all I got, Jim.
Yes, Edwin?
My question would be, you pulled a permit for several other projects. Why did you not pull a permit for this?
This is something that we, like I said, kind of a last minute thing. We had always had a plastic one there. This is not a permanent structure, so to speak. The one in the back, we poured cement for. It became a big project. It became a permanent structure. This was something I just bought at Home Depot and just slapped up there. Literally, they built it, they laid it on top of a pad that we had built there.
Right.
So going from plastic that you buy at Home Depot and put up yourself to the other one, really, I didn't see it as a permanent structure of any sort.
Well, you also pulled a permit for a fence and for windows.
But these are permanent things. This is just a temporary shed,
I
so to
would say
speak.
that shed is pretty much as permanent as your fence is, but I guess you could argue that point. Anyway, I'm surprised you didn't try to pull a permit for that.
Well, like I said, due to the fact that it was something that was just purchased and placed on there, Wasn't permanently secured to anything by any means. It's sitting on top of the gravel.
Does this house have a basement?
It does, fully finished. So I don't have space to store stuff down there, and due to people being dirty and stuff like that, like I said, typically we're not going to traipse all the way down through my house to get down to the basement to drag out parts and things like that. It's not ideal to be carrying some of these items. Some things are very heavy. You know, sometimes I'll store a safe inside of here. The safe can weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Trying to drag that up a flight of stairs, not an easy thing to do. So, because we had gone that route before. I had stored a lot of things down in the basement, and like I said, just trying to drag them up and down, not a real feasible thing, and without just dedicating my entire garage to being the storage facility, wasn't ideal.
Any other questions from this side? Couple things I'd like to remind the fellow commissioners. The fact that he didn't pull a permit is really irrelevant. We need to take into consideration as if whether or not we would be amenable to this structure regardless of whether the historical permitting place. So, I mean, the fact that he didn't take a permit out shouldn't influence our decision one way or the other. Tim, you hit on something I'd just like to clarify a little bit in terms as it relates to hardship. From my perspective, the property is zoned residential. There aren't any hardships here that relate to the ability to use the property as is intended in a residential district. The fact that he's running a business out of there, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, that in itself isn't a hardship for being able to use the property as the property was originally zoned for. So while there's great physical inconvenience because of what he's trying to do, it's, from my perspective, it's not a zoning hardship. Okay. Yes.
One of the reasons I asked about the permit is my thought was that if this was coming to us as a permit and asking for a variance, how would we react then versus how would we react when it's built?
And that's how we should
And I don't
approach
think
it.
we should react any different
Yeah.
now that it's built than
And that's exactly what I'm suggesting is how we should approach it.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go through the formality because this is a public hearing. We customarily open the floor to the public. Is there anybody from the public? There isn't anybody. I'm going to close the floor to the public. I just have to do that for the record. Back to the commissioners. Any other questions, comments?
I have one more.
Yes, sir.
If this is actually 8 to 12 inches from the property line, I would assume that that gate to his backyard is on his neighbor's property then? Is that gate next to, is that to your property?
That is, and the fence is on the property line, so I think sizing wise, they're not accurate on the 8 to 12. There's another good 2 to 3 feet over there.
No?
So we did an analysis based on the plat of survey, which showed that from the corner of the house to the property line is 11.59 feet. And we tried to account for that, but no survey has actually been completed to show the exact encroachment into the side setbacks. That's kind of why we gave that range.
The shed is actually set back several feet from the front of the garage. That's where you're coming up with your difference. It's a pie-shaped lot, and the shed is back about 2 to 3 feet. So the farther back you go, the more distance there is from the side of the house.
Yeah, I'm just saying we can't confirm exactly what that amount is without the survey,
It's
so.
approximately 2 to 3 feet from the property line, not 8 inches or whatever.
But to get back to Edwin's point, I mean,
It's
there-
not,
there-
it's
there's
not
two-
2 to 3, it's not close to 3 feet, because 3 feet would be conforming, so.
Well, the fence is at least 3 feet wide, so I would assume that part of it's got to be on the other person's property. I can't say for sure if we don't have a.
Okay, but there's two issues here. One is the 5-foot distance between ancillary structures and the primary structure.
Right.
And encroachment into the side setback. So there's two distinct issues here. Actually, Dick was ahead of you, I think.
No, I'm fine.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Tim.
So I guess you know, for me, the way I take a look at this is, I'm taking a look at the picture, and the applicant has said that this was temporary. It looks permanent to me. There's a door on it. So I would wonder what is temporary. There's electric in there. The other concern I have is I'm taking a look at both the picture and I'm taking a look at the plot of survey. And I know there's some mention in here, but what about access to the home for first responders if there were some sort of emergency here? It looks like there's no, I mean, I don't know about the practicality standpoint of it, but according to the plot of survey, I mean, it looks like there's no way, it just looks like it obstructs one of the main entrances to the backyard.
Yeah, so that is part of the reason why we have that 5-foot requirement for separation. However, the shed is located next to the garage as opposed to like a living space for fire.
Yeah,
if
and
you
another
wanna add to that.
consideration is a reasoning for the 5-foot separation, maintainability of both of the exterior surfaces of the structures, and then laddering for the fire department to the second floor. This is a circumstance where there is no second floor immediately adjacent to where the shed is, so that would not be a concern from the fire department. They do have access from the other side of the home or through the neighbor's property to get access to it, and they would not need to ladder to get up to a second story at this point.
I know that you mentioned primary structure. Everything I've seen, garage square footage doesn't count as part of your primary structure. So does the garage truly count as part of the primary structure?
If it's attached to the home, then yes, it is part of the primary structure.
All right, yeah, because looking it up everywhere, it seems like if it's non-livable space, it was not counted as that. It's
Our zoning code does consider it part of the primary structure, so if it's an attached garage.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Brian?
Just so the record is clear, you have additional employees that access this unit?
I have one employee who's been with me for approximately 2 months now. And he does have the ability, if he needs to go get parts out of there.
So
I'm the
that's-
primary person who does 24, he's a new guy, so at the moment, he doesn't really know how to do 90% of the stuff that we do. So I'm the main guy doing everything. But if, for instance, I was out of town and somebody needed to go get something, he would be the guy who would have to go get something.
So that's the reason for the punch keypad that's on, the lock that's on the door.
Correct.
Well, I'm just gonna say that I think that Jim summed it up well, that there's no zoning hardship here. And there might be an inconvenience from a home occupation standpoint, but I'm not seeing a zoning hardship.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? As Clara indicated before, we are advising the village board on this particular matter, so a recommendation in the form of a advice to the village board would be in order. Tim? Is there additional discussion?
No further discussion.
And oftentimes, if you make a motion, the petitioner is requesting this relief. So if you make a motion in the affirmative,
Which is
that's appropriate, and we'll track the vote. If you're opposed to granting the relief, you would vote no, but at least it's clear to everybody that the petitioner's request has been advanced through this commission.
So the motion is that we forward a favorable recommendation.
The customary approach is that we
Right.
take the
So I'm
affirmative.
making that motion, that we forward a favorable recommendation to the village board to grant the variance for the property located at 2195 Spruce Point Drive.
Okay, Mr. McFarland has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Garrity. Any discussion on the motion? John, could we roll call, please?
Bao,
No.
Garrity,
No.
McFarland,
No.
Nordentoff,
No.
Paff,
No.
Paysack,
No.
and Sula.
No. So the motion fails. As we've indicated, we're an advisory body to the village board. The village board will make the final decision. Clara or Tracy will let you know when the village board will be considering this matter. Thank you. Next meeting, thank you. Next meeting is scheduled for the 16th of January. Do we have anything on the agenda?
Not as of right now.
Okay. Opening the floor to public comment, closing the floor to public comment. Motion to adjourn to be in order?
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Have a great Christmas, New Year's season, or what, if you don't celebrate one of those.